6:31, we'll call the meeting to order. Kristen. All right, so just so everyone understands, I have two Zoom in the room running. So one is going to show the screen for the moment, and the other is looking at me. But so I set up these to go right into the room. Those of you that are joining by Zoom. So let me take some attendance here first. Greg Carabine is here. Peter Gauthier is here. Bill Hull's here. Stacy Gould. Jerry Martin. Heather Romansky. Okay. Myself, we got on Zoom, we have Christine DeStasio, Kristen Talley, Bob Serpinski is not a voting member, and 7874 number. Is that a member or?
Yeah, well, no, that's Pat McLaughlin, non-voting.
Okay, Pat, that's fine. McLaughlin from the city, from Public Works. Let's do this. So, let go. So I believe that would give us a quorum. We'll see if anyone else shows up. I'll announce them when I see them. We had the minutes from the previous meeting.
Yeah.
Should have gotten them all via email. We'll note that the meeting is being recorded. You should have gotten an announcement when they came on to Zoom. For those of us that are in the room, you should know that also. We will do votes because it's a hybrid. We will do votes via roll call. So any votes that we take. In this case, it'll be a vote to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. So I'd be looking for a motion for that. So moved by Peter Gauthier.
Second, Heather Romansky.
Heather Romansky, thank you. Any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes as presented?
Yes, we have Gerald Martin, both shown as present and absent.
Oh, that's good. I know some German.
Under citizens presence, we have the color hair of a couple of people, if we could strike that.
I was wondering if anyone's going to notice. Yeah, sorry, I realized I didn't delete my notes.
And
And on
you'll
the
take care of
second-
that, of
Yeah.
course.
I noticed that when I printed them.
And on the second page in section 4, the sentence reads, discussions ensued on meetings at the September scheduled meeting. I think if you just delete meetings at, it'll read discussions ensued on the September scheduled meeting. And then just one other thing, we had somewhat of a discussion over whether either the principal, superintendent, or the school board did anything similar to a SWOT assessment or self-assessment or something similar to that. And I know we didn't take any action away, but I thought something like that we spent 6-7 minutes on might be worth it noting in the minutes.
Yeah, fair enough. I remember that. Anything else? So with the corrections noted, you got those? Okay. With the corrections noted, are we good? Any other corrections? Hearing none, I'll guess, let's see who we got. Christine DeStasio, I'll start with Zoom. Yes or no on the minutes?
Yes.
Yes. Kristen Talley,
Yes.
Greg Carabine,
Yes.
Peter Gauthier,
Yes.
Bill Hull,
Yes.
Stacy Gould,
Yes.
Jerry Martin,
Yes.
Heather Romansky,
Yes.
myself, yes. What's your last name? Oh, I can't even tell it's you, man. Did you shave or something? Yeah, okay. God, I couldn't even tell it's you under there. God, you just messed me up. So, all right, I'm doing well. And I think that covers it, unanimous for approval of the minutes. So, with that, Preliminary report by DRA. Gentlemen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mark, and good evening, everybody. Good to be back. Our last meeting was 2 months ago, almost to the day, July 20. And here we are at the last day of the summer. And wanted to come back and report our activities over that period, and then a bit of a look ahead discussion. This evening, Ron Palillo joining me. I'm Jim Barrett. Greg Smalley, our project manager, family health item that he has to stay close to home for this evening, so not able to be here with us this evening. But as we were preparing our presentation, Greg was kind enough to roll out a quote, and he came to this based on all the information that we've been able to cover.
1 second, I'll note that for the record that Greg Balassi just came in. Thank you. Go ahead. Yeah, just whatever you want.
This issue of discovery consisting not of new landscapes, but having new eyes. So, you know, as we look at all the information that's been collected around the schools and regarding their condition, etc., we understand that this issue has been looked at previously, and it's important for us to be able to identify for the community as we go forward the differences in terms of how we intend to go about our work here. We did share this image with you at the last. This is all of the buildings that are part of the study and do represent all the buildings that we've had a chance to put our people into over the last 2-month window. We'll update you further on that. This obviously too small to read from where you are all at, but it is the work plan that we shared with you at the very outset of our work. And we're really focusing on this first phase component in the upper left-hand corner that's circled and bringing it up so that we could have a better look at it. It really has 3 key pieces to it. The first has to do with the collection of available information, the second, assessment of facility condition, and the third major component, development of demographic information and enrollment projections. Starting with the first, collection of available information, we have had that opportunity to get past studies. We've had opportunity to collect drawings, etc. And with that in hand, was a good way for us to kind of come up to speed in terms of understanding some of the work that's been done here within the community. The second item in there, historic service and utility information. Again, information that's very critical or often really coveted by our mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers in terms of moving things forward and understanding systems that are in, what's their condition, what's their service record, where do they stand in terms of useful life expectancy, that type of thing. The third element, existing space summaries, floor plans, and site plans. We've been able to take a real good start at beginning to create base drawings that are assisting all of our consultants to go forward with this. I don't know, Ron, anything on this first kind of collection of information that comes to mind for you?
Those drawings, base drawings, are also used for identifying how the school will be.
So I can keep you going because the next component has to do with the assessment of facilities conditions. And Ron, I know you were part of the team that was able to get through the buildings. So do you want to share a little bit about that? Sure.
So we were planning, or you were planning initially to be done by the end of August. Dated that section?
We completed the first section, which was the collection of the information. Yes. For everything that we're speaking to here this evening, we're pretty much on schedule. The secondary assessment of facilities condition for our team, we are fully concluded. Our MEPs are looking to move in through the next few weeks, but it keeps us on schedule for a mid to end September kind of conclusion of that activity scape that Ron's touching on right now.
For the assessment of the facilities conditions, you can see there's one of the first line items is conducting surveys of the existing buildings and ground. Our team actually won't go to the next. Conducting our site visits to the end. There we go. So our team spent a week visiting each of the buildings, and we walked the site, the exterior of the building, two distinctly different things, as well as the interior of the building, noting the existing conditions, anything that came to our attention. And generally speaking, we've completed our site visits as indicated that the end of August. The playgrounds are assessed on July 28th, excuse me, August 20th. That was a specific consultant for playscapes and playgrounds. And the MEP and building systems will be assessed in the beginning of October. That's coming up shortly. That's the next one. Thank you. Generally speaking, the buildings are in good condition considering their ages and their use. Nothing really jumped out at us as major issues. There are, of course, some typical issues with windows and roofs, and to some extent the exterior walkways and whatnot. I think what attracted our attention the most were some of the ADA deficiencies, both inside and outside of the building, in terms of condition of parking lots, sidewalks, accessible routes to the building, from the building, and that includes, as we mentioned, the site elements as well. Go to the next slide. The playgrounds also are in decent condition. Here we have issues with some of the equipment being old, some of the equipment not being appropriate for the age groups using it. And additionally, again with ADA, access to the actual play areas, as well as once a non-ambulatory person gets there, how can they use some of these playscapes that aren't really intended for use by non-ambulatory? And then we have the condition for everyone of the wall area, wall material, either being worn away or not sufficient. So we have to deal with those issues as well. So there's the access to the area, the access to the equipment, the appropriateness of the equipment, the age groups, and then a major item is the fall surface, so that if somebody does have a fall, the impact is. And then that brings us to the next step.
But before I was going to say, before we head there, this is kind of a 30,000-foot snapshot overview, but we will have write-ups for each of the buildings. They will provide, photographic evidence like some of the information that's captured here. And we will provide them to you as we move our way into the process while they're in process, so that you can have review of them before we get to the final, documents requirements at the end of the process. So it's something that we expect to have in your hands as we move through this fall, and have your eyes on that information along the way.
Your all surface, just from safety, were your all surface conditions passed on to anyone?
I'm sorry.
Whether it passed on to anyone, whether it's the superintendents or the principals?
That kind of information hasn't passed.
So, environmental. So,
The-
well, I was going to say, relative to utility services, MEPs will be coming in and taking a look. So to date, we haven't given that a hard look. In terms of hazardous materials and condition, obviously, as we walk through buildings, known materials, we can observe and kind of expect that that would be likely a hazardous material. But we'd rely very heavily on AHERA reports in terms of being able to identify, known surfaces. They're already documented for the district in their reporting. There are other areas where, based on our experience, things like blue daubs behind old slate, that type of thing, mud joints on plumbing that might be, a material that's, not part of an AHERA report, but certainly something that, if we're thinking about what's going to move the needle relative to budget, those are the types of things that we know are hidden typically from an AHERA report that we have to put some calculus behind in terms of being able to get a reasonable number as we think about a project. Anything else on that?
No, and that leads us into the next step.
So the last piece, the development of the demographic information, SLR is our consultant working with us on this. They have been in contact with the district. They are holding until October 1st. So we could get the October 1st update information that has to be submitted by the district to the state. That'll give us our best look or snapshot at where we stand this fall in terms of numbers, enrollments, et cetera, and their distribution amongst the various schools within the district. So that'll be their point of kickoff in terms of beginning their enrollment information once they have that information in hand. And the last piece that we wanted to talk about, this gives just a graphic in terms of where we stand within the overall timeline and activities. As I said, for the majority of what we have up top, we have arrived at a point of completion. We do have some work that's going to carry over beyond this. In terms of our demographic overlap, this has to be adjusted because they really felt strongly that, given the past 18 months that we've been through, really needing that October 1st information to have any information that might give us some kind of reliable foothold to begin that portion of it. But that should not harm us in terms of our ability for continuing kind of next steps in the process. And so that is kind of a look back, if you will, in terms of what we've been doing over the last 2-month window. In terms of looking forward, really things that we want to be able to speak to. Our next major activity within our schedule is that of educational planning and programming exercises. So working with the district administration to establish opportunities to have sit downs to understand how are the buildings used, how are they used today, what are those things within that use that are really at a very high level and you really wouldn't want to adjust in any way, you wouldn't want to lose it. And what are those things that are seen as impediment to kind of getting to next level education or goals that the district may have. So that is our work in terms of over the next several weeks, making those appointments to be able to have the meetings and have those meetings for each of the 14 buildings that are part of the scope. The other item that's listed here is starting to look toward, we originally spoke at our last meeting of kind of a third week of October target for a first workshop, being able to have people back into school, kind of get established, see how the year starts to play out, and be able to have that first meeting. And so that is something that in terms of our focus in that first meeting, it's really listening. We'll be able to bring in information about all of the buildings that are part of the study, the overarching mapping of it. We'll be able to bring in some of the initial information that we garner, both from the studies that we've received, but also from the educational planning and programming. We will also have our MEPs available in terms of understanding their review of the buildings. So that first meeting is really an exercise of listening. It's to come to the table, share the information that we have that is basically the baseline information in terms of coming to understand the district, and begin to have the conversation at a public level in terms of what people are seeing. And it's really trying to collect information from others. As we mentioned at our interview, we are able to do this both in person and through Zoom meeting. If we are able, and it probably would work best if we host the Zoom meeting, we're able to utilize other platforms. We have access to Poll EV is one platform, another is Forms Pro. They give us opportunity to be able to have people respond kind of real time in terms of responses to various questions, that type of thing. So it helps give people an opportunity to share feedback real time, see their responses populate, and see how they sit in terms of their opinion relative to others in the community. So we've actually come to find that often the hybrid or all kind of digital meetings really get some tremendous response. It's very easy for people to participate and be part of it. And as a result, we seem to get more engagement in the communities. But of course, we're happy to work with you in whatever way you feel would be best for Norwich. So I guess that's one point that I'd like to have a little bit of conversation around. Is there any preference among this group as a working group relative to approach when we're talking about community engagement?
That's like the most bang for your buck, so to speak, that you have people who can show up in person if they can, and they can't show up, they have the opportunity to go onto a Zoom meeting and either listen or ask questions, etc.
Well, Greg, Herman? I mean, I agree also, so it's not, Peter? Good.
I'm just trying to chime in.
Oh, are they?
Oh, I'm hearing you.
Oh, you're hearing me, yeah, so. I have the volume turned down here, hang on. But if anyone wants to try, any of the voting members want to chime in that are on Zoom? We'll turn up the volume here for a minute.
It's Kristen. I would just say that the marketing of the event, if that can go out on multiple platforms and not just one sole means of communication for people to know about the event. We all know analytics of social media, right, sometimes prevents us from seeing certain things. So I think in terms of engagement, just the more mediums that we can utilize to.
So you're referring to the communication on the meeting itself?
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, okay. I mean, obviously, I think we're going to want to reach out in as many ways as we can, but I think the issue is here how the actual meeting itself is how it's going to be conducted. So I think the hybrid gives us the best opportunity at getting the most people to participate. So
More accommodating.
yeah, it's more accommodating. Certainly, look at, we got a few of our own members that are sitting here probably in their living rooms. Maybe they got other things going on or whatever. And I know some of the people in here definitely have other things going on. And if they can occasionally take advantage of that too, there you go. Christine DeStasio.
Right now, it's horrible though, Mark. The signal is horrible. The video is, it's rolling and you can't make out any
Oh,
of the
that's
right.
the one that's on the screen. Yeah, that's because it's on a projected screen. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
so
recording the
I'm
projection.
just saying, so when we have the community, it'll be better then?
Yeah, no, it is, when we're talking about, we'll probably have them host, and that way they'll just be able to share their screen and it'll be a clean.
All
image.
right.
Yeah, because
All right.
normally, if I was doing this, say from home or whatever, I'd be sharing a screen or something like that and not trying to do it this way.
It's a fair point, Mark, that we possibly might want to run these things that way where even if we're just invited into the Zoom meeting, but.
Well, I could share you could, yeah, I
screen.
could allow you to share the screen, right?
That so
Right.
that people at home have exactly what's on
Yep.
our screen here on their screen. It's a much better way to go.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
So I guess part of the reason for wanting to talk about it this early is often we find to be able to get the community to understand that there's something coming, you got to tell them, and you got to tell them often. We generally think we wouldn't want to have information out in the community much before a month or 3 weeks prior to something, because often people will put it on a schedule and forget it if it's too much or too early. However, if it's done then and then a real blast, maybe the week prior, in terms of just reminding people through the various ways that might be available here in the community, that would be something that we'd see as important. To be able to tell somebody there's a meeting, we actually have to be able to identify a date that might work for this group. I mean, if this evening as Tuesday night evening works, that might be something for us to consider.
We could absolutely use this date as these meetings for that purpose, especially if we're not in a situation where we have to make too many decisions. So.
But the slight difference would be that we look to push it to the third week or so of October rather than midpoint of the month. So it'll be slightly different than our normal schedule.
Committee's meeting in October is Tuesday, October 19th.
Yep.
Is that a good time or too early?
Well, we prefer to be out at least another week if possible.
So another week is the last week of October, just the way October works.
So it'll be at the 26th, correct?
That would be Tuesday, yeah. I don't know, that's the fourth Tuesday.
Because once we get into the fifth, the last few days of the month, then,
Yeah.
what are the last-
What are the last 3 days of October? What Friday as far as the day of the week? Is it a Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Ask me that again.
What are the last 3 days in October?
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a-
29th, 30th, and Halloween is on Sunday,
No,
October
okay.
31st.
See, that's a problem, yeah. So that only gives us one, that's a Friday, and that's not a good day for anyone.
People are too tired, on Friday,
That's it.
including me.
Well, what I'm talking about is like that fifth week, we have them on weekdays, sometimes that's a good day to schedule a special meeting or something like that, because it's first, second, third, fourth day of the week. So I'm talking about meeting conflicts and stuff
Yep.
like that. We don't have those issues for those days, but it looks like we don't have that opportunity in October. So I'm open to suggestions. I mean, it might be we just pick the best date that we can make it work, and then whoever can make it, and whoever can't.
Certainly, we could also look to record it so that we can.
Well,
let it
obviously, yeah.
reside on the-
If we do it in that format, where say we do it as a special meeting, then I would need to make arrangements to get it recorded. So
Okay,
it might be easier to set it up on our server and then have you guys host.
yep,
That might be the easiest way to get it done.
Right.
That's all.
This is a committee meeting.
Huh?
This won't be a committee meeting. This will be an
Well,
informational session, informational gathering session.
Yeah.
Yes?
you
Yeah,
have a
does it- I mean,
quorum
does
of
it-
people.
does it-
yeah, it gets a little dicey, Peter. That's, you start putting everybody on the committee in the room, and it's a legal committee, and, yeah, so it is, probably would post it, and, although no business would be conducted, it'd just be, all right, collected information, blah, 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 so.
So, seeing the difficulty with the calendar, if in fact the 19th is a date that might work because it's already an established date
Yeah.
for the committee, we could look to that.
All right. That would get it done.
And then the other question would be, if we're going to invite in public, would it be utilizing this space, or would it be another space?
That's a good question. I think I would prefer, can we see about doing Kelly?
The community room
Yeah.
or the auditorium?
Actually flat floor, so not the auditorium if
Okay.
possible.
So the community room,
Yep, that would be best.
I can check on that.
All right. So pending Heather, there will, we'll set the meeting up. I'll move the location from here to the community room at Kelly.
Yeah, I'm probably not gonna know tonight.
I know, no, that's, I know. If, assuming it's available, which isn't a guarantee, obviously. So, and maybe we can find some other place that's a little more accommodating than this room here.
What about council chamber?
The projection kind of
Yeah.
fits in there.
It's maybe worse than in here,
Well,
so
just for someone who's attended many virtual meetings, watching that is,
it's just horrible. It's horrible.
In terms of
Yeah, right.
in terms of projection requirements in the room itself, we can cover that with smaller screens. We typically, although we bring everybody together at if in fact we get a sizable group participating,
Yeah.
we typically try to bring everybody together at the outset, introduce what's happening, have breakout sessions that focus on topic discussions, bring everybody back at the end, and then break up. So we could handle it with our small screens pretty readily and not worry about, people not being able to see information from a distance. But I suspect, and this is just a guess, we probably will have more people in attendance via Zoom than we would in person. So I think
I would agree.
we probably want to gear the meeting more towards
A good
that
virtual
audience,
experience.
than to the
Yeah, Kelly would prove to
attendees.
be a better setup, better lighting, better everything. So bandwidth. So the problem with council chambers too is there's no bandwidth, and anything I do, I have to run. If I need internet access, I have to run hardwire.
Yep.
I mean, which can be done, but then I got cables all over the floor. But we're set, I've done it, but it's one of those things I'd rather not do if I didn't have to.
Yeah, certainly hardwire is most reliable. So if it's possible, we'd love to have it just to ensure that we're getting reasonable feed out to people.
Do you have the ability to do multiple breakout sessions?
We can, so we can set up individual, they call them breakout rooms within Zoom. One of us, meaning Ron, Greg, myself, or one of our consultants can be the facilitator of that breakout session. And then we bring everybody back together. And that's something that works pretty seamlessly within that environment. To that end, it almost makes it easier. Well, it doesn't matter. We can run it as a hybrid if people feel it's important.
Well, I think Kristen made the good point regarding, getting the word out to people and stuff. We've got to use every means at our disposal pretty much to do that. Obviously, some of the biggest stakeholders are parents, so parents of children in school systems. So,
PTA or something, they can send that through.
yeah, I
I was gonna
mentioned,
tell you, you're not gonna get a good response from
We have
PTA. PTOs, they
robocalls,
have like 2 members each
But there's
school.
also the ability for every administrator to send out a message to their phone. It's called Kinvo.
Yeah,
They
Yep.
use it a lot.
Yep.
So there's multiple ways, in addition to just putting it on Facebook or the website. But Kinvo messages, they're limited in characters too, so it's usually very concise messaging.
so like
But we
it's
can-
like a
I
Twitter,
think
is
we
it a
can-
Twitter
we
kind
can
of thing
include
or?
links.
Links, you can include links.
Yeah.
You can include
So,
PDFs, you
like
can
Greg-
increase it.
Like Greg said, that has to be, it has to be a concise message because it's limited.
Is it like a
text, but it
Twitter?
can-
How many
it-
characters? 144 or some
it
sort of
can
thing like
include-
that?
I
or
can't remember.
It's
160?
It's up in that range.
It's 280.
Gotcha. But the district uses it a lot to get out information to parents, because of the pandemic, we continue to use it.
Mhm.
But definitely through central office, they can send it to the whole district or certainly school by school. And invite them to it.
200, Kristen, tell you 280 characters and includes auto translation. Thank you,
Yeah,
Kristen.
The translation piece is
That's the
huge.
big part.
Yep, there you go.
And that's why I think we need to have an in-person option because, we want to be inclusive. And not everybody has access to technology or internet at home. We've come a long way with that, but we're not there 100%.
Understood.
And so that's important.
Sure.
Every voice needs to have an opportunity to be heard.
Yep.
So, thank you.
And I guess I would ask Heather to that end,
280 is plenty, I think.
if in fact, that's a goal of the meeting. In terms of outreach, it's great to be able to reach parents through the various avenues that we have available. I'm wondering if there's other groups within the community that we have to be targeting,
So there is there a Norwich clergy group or there's like, there's a Norwich.
There
Clergy
is.
Association.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
Thank you. I knew I was
Yeah.
getting that wrong. I mean, because parents clearly are important, but eventually this project has to fly to the voters, which includes a much larger group. And so we want everybody to have the opportunity to hear about it. So perhaps if we get the information out to that group as well, they can also communicate to their communities.
And
You know, I'm
all
thinking, I
that-
attend a congregational church in Norwich, and there are not a lot of young families in the church, but there are a lot of voters.
Sure.
So I'm thinking, oh, when it gets closer, I'll be standing up during the announcements at the beginning and just making sure people know about this.
So.
One
is there-
second, Christine.
Even the senior center.
Hang on 1 second. Hang on. Just gotta turn the volume up here. Go ahead.
Even up at the senior center, we can let the director know,
There you go.
Yep.
and have him post it there.
Yeah,
I can
we
take
put it
care
on the
of that.
marquee. Yeah. There you go.
And I could take care of that when you get a set date and time. You need to get a time still.
Yeah, we have to check with Mike and see how much space, I don't know how much they can put on the marquee, maybe get a couple of screens there full.
Life in your years of using your life. I think that much, they can put another message. You have to memorize them.
Yeah, there you go.
You know,
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Go ahead, Christine.
we could even let WICH know, because there's still a lot of people that listen in on that in the morning.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
I'm sure Jackie can get it out to the media.
Yep. Thank you. And
Okay.
Mark, our team can offer, we can put together a sample of kind of invite language. Usually we do it in a one pager. So obviously if we're thinking about some other communication channels that may have to be pared down, or simply it gets pared down to the base information with a hyperlink to the full kind of piece so that people can view it in that way. But I can get that off to you in the next few days.
okay, thank you.
It was mentioned earlier, having solutions to inclusive, is there the opportunity or the need for either ASL, American Sign Language, or foreign language translators?
I second that question.
Heather?
I'm thinking, sorry. I'm not sure that we have done
Yeah,
that.
Kristen was just asking about a way to provide language assistance around the messaging of and during the meeting as needed. She's thinking around engaging as many different community members as possible. So that's something we'll have to look into at least.
We send it out, things for school, we send out things. How do you send out something like this? That's
Right.
the question.
Yeah.
Or how's it done for the board of ed meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do,
Do that.
yeah, there's no sign language.
For city council.
No,
It is what it is.
Yeah.
yeah. No, we don't.
We're trying to engage the community. Very diverse community for this.
Yeah, so it's interesting that we talk about this. So before this meeting, I was at, I'm the board's NFA Board of Trustees liaison, and Dr. Kelly had students come, Martin Luther King scholars, I think, and he said a few things, a few sentences, 3 or 4 sentences in English, and then he said them in Spanish. He obviously is bilingual. I am not. And I thought that was interesting because I don't remember that happening before. So we might have to come back to that.
We on staff have an architect professional who is a native Spanish speaker. Certainly, he's helped us in scenarios like this where we have outreach in communities where Spanish is a predominant or a near predominant language. But I don't know what other languages you have here in the community.
About 30 of them.
Yeah, we're
So-
not, I'm just thinking large population.
Yeah, the largest. So will we, Haitian Creole, Spanish? Oh, here's one. Simplified Chinese. Those are the top 3.
There's too many.
Thank you again, Kristen.
dialects.
That they do for the, again, announcements that go home.
Yeah, we do those 3.
I knew Spanish and Haitian Creole. I had those.
Yeah.
But the simplified Chinese was a new one on me. Chinese has a lot of different variations.
Firsthand.
All right. Anything else?
I don't suppose the city, like, is this thing of all the organizations.
And like Chamber of Commerce and.
I mean, there's some,
Got it out to Andrew.
Yeah.
Chamber. Well, it'd be better if your chamber, she could follow that out to her list.
yeah, thank you, Stacy. That's certainly, I mean, we're going to be using multiple channels to get the word out. I think that's the only way.
Absolutely.
You know, Angie, at the chamber, you know, Chamber of Commerce. So we'll, so those are all, you know, I don't even know. They got quite a few members,
Right.
so
She can-
in businesses
get her
around town. So,
information, she can, you know, send it out to her
For
members.
social media.
Yep.
She has social media too.
yeah. So we should, you know, we should be able to get the word out to a lot of different people. So
That was just people like sharing it on their Facebook accounts or whatever.
And remember, this is
Yeah.
the only one meeting.
Right.
That is,
You have to remember that.
in the invite that we typically write up, that is one of the statements that we make, that this is kind of a series where there'll be multiple opportunities. The taping of it's really an important element, the ability to have it recorded, placed somewhere. If we could create a site
Doesn't the
within
already
city
have that
government
place for
or-
Minutes on meetings.
Yes.
Yeah, on the website, yeah, but
This website, you can go back, I'm gonna review minutes or review actually the meeting.
right?
although like this recording will be posted there, for instance, but it's not the most user-friendly thing in the world, but I don't, only because there's so many things
So
on the site, you know, so.
do you think the school district would be able to create a hyperlink from its website where it is a little more user-friendly that would just take you to that?
Yeah, well, they have a, on their homepage, they bulletize the, you know, with the, well, it's not, they're not bullets usually, but they're links, the recent things that they've posted links to and stuff, the, you know, top 10 or something like that, whatever it is, I think, right? So that would probably, you know, that would probably work. So we could do that. I mean, I think you do both, you know, so, but it's not, the problem is that the city's page isn't really conducive to sticking something on there like that, you know?
We can hyperlink through social media.
Yeah.
Hyperlink there and then. it
Yeah,
can
there you
go
go.
to that hidden part of the city website.
Yeah.
I think the biggest task is going to be just creating everything that's accessible to everybody in the city. The links, that's the easy part. It's a custom-based job.
Yeah, well, you got to get the links to people, you know?
But yeah,
Somebody,
then-
if they can just click on it, you know, so they got to see it on, they have to be able to see it online. That's the thing. Of course, it means they have to be online, you know? Yeah, right. Yeah, I know that.
Creating everything for the city.
When is that magazine that comes out, the Norwich?
Norwich Magazine?
No, yeah,
Which, the newspaper.
yeah,
every week?
because if you could put, that goes to every house.
Right, but that would be to the media.
Yeah, that's the day.
No,
The day publishes it.
Right,
But then you
they
reach
publish.
every house.
Yeah.
You know that.
So if Jack.
And Norwich Times, right?
Reaching out to
Right.
The Bulletin, Day,
Yeah.
other media partners,
That'd be great.
they can put that right in there.
Yeah, but you say, if you have that, so maybe whenever that is published, you can put, like, you're talking the
Talk to-
hyperlinks.
Talk to Kevin or Claire or something, you know?
Yeah.
See if we can get some, get something in there.
Newspaper.
Right, every house, yeah.
Yeah, a great idea.
All right. Well, we got some ideas how to reach out.
This evening, that was about what we had to share with you, and, you know, it's really kind of
Obviously,
teeing up this next series of reviews. As I said, the MEP will be the next major kind of push in the buildings. The educational planning and programming exercises, our next major push in terms of getting an understanding of how things happen within the buildings. And then this last piece, which is the establishment of that first workshop.
Is it possible to have, like, say, the building analysis available prior to a meeting, so we can look at it? Like we just say, if you're gonna have every building, its strengths, its weaknesses, the MEP, if we could have that and Mark could put it on a link, because I know myself, I would rather review something, so then I could ask questions, rather than trying to absorb something here. So at least a week before, if it could be posted somewhere, we could review it.
or as much as you, yeah, because they're going to be pushing the envelope, having it ready for the 19th, I think.
Have that.
Yeah, but anything sooner than 6:30 at night is better.
Even if it's 24 hours before, it's.
Anything is better. I mean, at least you can.
I when you talk about the report availability, we just simply won't have the work complete by then. Our MEPs are going to be going in over the next, you know, handful of weeks to get started. We have our architectural assessments in, but we're in the process of getting those into, you know, format for the report. So it's a process that's going to take some time before it's really even at a draft level. But as I said earlier, it is our intent to get them to you in draft form rather than waiting until the end of the report. So at some point this fall, we'll be able to start parsing them out as they're available. But it won't be a complete snapshot because you'll be getting architectural assessment, you'll then be getting mechanical assessments, and they will not be, it won't be everything pulled together in a final report fashion. That will not happen until the very end of
So what will be presented, if we're looking at the 19th of October?
Yep.
For a public meeting?
Yep.
What are you going to present?
So we will have information about every building, meaning floor plan information about every building. We will have the aerial mapping of what are the buildings in the study. We will have information around how do these buildings look and compare to guidelines and standard in terms of square footage availability, that type of thing. Our engineers, although they won't have their reports done, will be available to talk in general about what they've seen, that type of information. We'll be able to speak about what we've seen architecturally, but it's more important that we start hearing from the community, what are they seeing as kind of some of the key issues and concerns to be addressed. And that's really the focus of the meeting. It's an active listen. We're putting up a lot of information, hopefully to kind of engage people and to have them want to engage in conversation. But we really want that conversation to be theirs, because it's our opportunity then to take that information from that meeting. And as we look to the second workshop, they come in a series. The first is listening. The second is looking at options and alternatives. So with the information gathered at the first meeting and the continual development of our other information in the study, we'll then start looking at, well, what are some possible solutions? And it isn't an attempt to try to find the best solution, or we want to put out as many options and alternatives as we can, because it's a way to exercise them and have people see that we're willing to look at any option on paper. And now is the right time to do it. Now is the easy time to do it. The third workshop happens before final conclusion, but it's when we're at that point of saying, of these 10 or 12 options, here's one or two that look like they're the kind of front runners, if you will, and get people's feedback on that. And it's with that information that then we finalize the report and get ready to bring it forward to, this committee and then ultimately to the Board of Ed. But that's what the first workshop focuses on. And, when we work in the hybrid environment, as I mentioned, we have tools that allow us to be able to bring up information, building by building, if we care to. We can also kind of break them out by segments. So take all of the elementary schools or a portion of the elementary schools, the middle school, the high school, that type of thing. Excuse me, not high school, but look at the schools individually, and we'll have to think about how we organize breakout sessions in terms of topic centers. Typically, we break them out into categories of site and building. So people are very interested. So people are very interested in building. That might be something they'd be interested in. Educational planning, program, understanding how education works in the building. Third one might be MEP systems and that type of thing. So our engineers have a place if somebody has a real desire to understand, what's the next major set of systems that are most likely within the system to need attention, based on age or based on condition. So those are the types of samples of kind of breakout sessions to try to take a larger group and get it down into smaller conversations of maybe 10 to 20 at a time, rather than 75 to 125. Get them into a smaller group for conversation.
What I think I heard you say, in answer to a specific question. You can expect, before we go into the meeting, if there is significant detail available that we're going to be discussing or being presented to you, where it's complete, we will give it to you before we show up at the meeting in draft form or in some form. Didn't you say that?
Yes, I wanted to ensure that the expectation was that a full draft was available. Okay.
All right. So I guess the format of the next meeting will have just some routine business, and then we'll go right into the public, presentation and, comment portion. And then, the regular scheduled meeting will be in November, and we'll set that then, and that'll be on the agenda, and we'll, after the public comments done, we'll adjourn the meeting. Does that sound like a plan?
Set the business meeting like at 6:30 and the presentation at 7. So you clear the business part of that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. I mean, the business part of the meeting will only take 10 minutes anyway, so. Yeah, something like that.
And typically, we try to keep our public meetings to about an hour, hour and 15. The idea being, we try to give an agenda up front. We try to be very rigorous about hitting targets within it, because we want people to know they're going to get out of there.
Right.
Okay. Yep. All right. So with that, I think we're done for tonight anyway. So the next scheduled meeting will be October 19th, as I just mentioned, and we'll take, and we'll be doing the public portion. Yeah, we'll do it a little overnight. We'll set it for 6:30 as normal. And then Heather will check on the location and get back to me, hopefully tomorrow.
I have an email out already.
Okay, I figured you did. And then, and we'll figure out the location and whatever the details later. All right, any other questions or issues at this point? Anyone?
School tours back on the agenda.
Excuse me?
Put the school tours back on the agenda.
With the what?
School tours.
School tours, oh, okay. And then we'll do that in the business. Yeah, in fact, I'll send a note to Kristen Stringfellow tonight. I'll try to get that done and we'll see what's going on.
If you send that to Kristen and Amber, Amber's gonna be the one who ends
Yeah.
up scheduling them, so
Okay.
it'll just save Kristen from forwarding.
Roger that, yeah, okay. C'est bon, as they say en français, right? The look from Jerry, good. All right, anything else then?
Other Romansky motion to adjourn?
Thank you very much. Second by Jerry Martin. So we'll do a roll call here. We'll start from inside the room this time. Greg Carabine.
Yes.
Greg Balassi.
Yes.
Peter Gauthier.
Yes.
Bill Hull. Stacy Gould.
Yes.
Jerry Martin.
Yes.
Heather Romansky.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Joe DeLucia.
Yes.
Yes. Christine DeStazio.
Yes.
Kristen Talley.
Yes.
Thank you. We stand adjourned at 7:29 PM and we'll see you all next month.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you all. Appreciate your time tonight.
Oh,